your landfill? The Urban Edge Studio is a 5-person landscape architecture and urban design practice focused on urban infill, suburban redevelopment, form-based codes, and smart growth. Our tagline pretty much says it all. Designing the public realm for social, environmental, and economic sustainability, one block at a time. The world of development has gone through many changes over the years, and we believe a paradigm shift in the way we look at town building is imminent. One thing that development has forgotten that needs to be rediscovered is the importance of the public realm in our communities. Hannah Arendt once said, "The public realm is the common world, gathers us together, and yet prevents us from falling over each other. What makes modern society so difficult to bear is not the number of people involved, but the fact that the world between them has lost its power to gather them together, to relate, and to separate them." Our streets are the most important part of the public realm, and we've relegated them to an element of utility, where their success is only measured in something called level of service, which is only about moving cars. In doing so, they've lost an important role as our public space. We need to rediscover the dignity of the street. We need to respect the street, revere the street, and grace our streets with beauty and beautiful buildings that create and reinforce their edges. We need to consider pedestrians, bicyclists, on-street parking, and transit as being just as important as automobiles. Jane Jacobs, one of my favorites, once said, "If a city's streets look interesting, the city looks interesting. If they look dull, the city looks dull." That being said, the Urban Edge Studio has taken on a series of field trips to look at towns across the Southeast to see what makes them successful, why they work, and why. What we found are some wonderful communities with incredibly beautiful and vibrant downtowns. They're interesting, they have walkable streets, and they just feel good. They work as an integral part of the public realm. The only problem is, according to current regulations and zoning ordinances, you can't build that stuff anymore. However, the hideous sprawl on the edges of town, that vulgar, placeless, scaleless crap, automobile-dominated junk, can be permitted and built very easily every day. In fact, it's those regulations and agencies like the DOT that have brought us to the impasse we now face in urban design. Think about what you think one of the most hideous streets in the Charleston area is. We agree, it's Rivers Avenue. The lanes are too wide, the blocks are too long, the buildings are too far back, it has terrible sidewalks, and it's really just a very poor step in a street like this can get a bad reputation. But what if we redeveloped? What if we got rid of the overhead utilities and the corner signs and the hookers? And maybe reduced that gargantuan median and reduced the lane widths and added more perpendicular streets to create better blocks? What if you created a true boulevard with 2 lanes of traffic to handle the load and slip streets with parallel parking that could be a more walkable shopping street? Then we added street trees and buildings and real shot fronts. Isn't that better? Simultaneously conveying traffic efficiently and also providing good walkable streets. Boulevards have lanes for moving traffic to the side, edged by what we call slip streets. These one-way frontage roads usually have on-street parking and tree-lined sidewalks. There are dozens of examples of boulevards from around the country. Our team actually proposed a solution, similar solution for Boundary Street in Beaufort. And traffic engineers were very squeamish about it because it didn't provide for that all-important stacking that they think they need to have at all the intersections. I actually need to slow down and take a breath here because I've gotten ahead of my presentation. The city of Charleston is currently undergoing an update to their comprehensive plan. And I encourage y'all to go fill out the survey online. But one of the things they ask you to do is to name your most favorite street in Charleston. Our answer was Broad Street because it changes character several times over its length, from residential to mixed use to commercial, and it makes the transition with grace and dignity. It's always beautiful. It has walkable scale with parks, good blocks, sidewalks, street trees, and things of interest. whether it's shops or houses that propel you down the street. It is designed in such a way that you don't feel compelled to go too fast, making it safer for pedestrians and bicyclists. Louis Mumford once said, "Forget the damned motor car and build a city for lovers and friends." Imagine what our streets would look like if this were DOT's motto. Imagine what our streets would be if created strong public roads somewhere on their priority list. And yeah, he's a lover. If we follow that advice and make new rules for what a street is, for why a street is, then we will create places that are meaningful, memorable, and livable. Then we will be creating places worth protecting in 50 years. But we're designing streets with the wrong priorities. Livability boils down to a strong public realm, which means good parks and good streets. Good streets actually means less driving, which means using less gas and having less road rage. But we've educated 2 generations of traffic engineers in the interstate highway mentality, and that's the problem. They can design highways, but they can't design streets. We need to design streets for everyone, because right now our streets really suck. But adding lanes to decrease congestion is like saying you're going on a diet by loosening your belt. Streets are about more than capacity, so it's all about choices. Choose where you live by how you want to live. You are the creatives of Charleston. Demand excellence, demand innovation, demand change. I'll leave you with more words from Louis Mumford. The chief function of the city is to convert power into form, energy into culture, dead matter into the living symbols of art, biological reproduction into social creativity. Thank you.
One more time, y'all. One more time.